I just feel very lucky to get up in the morning and just really enjoy work and have wonderful people to work with. I never envisaged having my own business, which would be where we're at right now. See, maybe it's very similar, that position of vulnerability that incentivizes people who've had the misfortune of either losing a job or worried about losing a job, just to bite the bullet and start up a business and be in charge of their own destiny a bit more.
Hello, my name's Nicole and welcome to The Big Chat. And today I'm very, very happy to be talking to Arthur, founder of the Right Tuition Company. Hello, Arthur.
Greetings, Nicole.
Greetings. I like that. Greetings. That's a good one.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. I'm busy, which keeps me out of trouble, so I'm very happy.
Yeah. It's so for people that don't know about the Right Tuition Company, before we get stuck into talking about you, tell people a bit about what the Right Tuition Company is. I mean, there's a bit of a clue in the name, but for those that don't know.
Yeah, there is a bit of a clue.
Yeah.
We specialise in providing affordable, small group tuition, supplementary learning in the core subjects of maths, English and science to children right across the academic spectrum, so primary and secondary age local pupils. And it's all about traditional learning. We don't mess around with computers. It's all about having a charismatic, invigorating subject specialist teaching classes to children, getting them engaged in learning. And at the heart of what we do is trying to offer a really rounded service. So we do lots of feedback. We do detailed marking of work. We assess children to help them understand where they need to improve, but also give them confidence. We have revision classes, mock assessments, all sorts of things. But we're just really education purists who value education and love extending it to as many people as we possibly can.
Oh, and how long have you been going now? How long's the Right Tuition Company going?
We started back in 2014.
Wow.
So it's been about 7 years now. And we started with an empty building with massive rent and rates, no teachers, no pupils. And now we've grown to having a couple of sites in Tunbridge Wells and Tunbridge. And we've got about 25, 30 staff now. Most of them are part-time because they're tutors, but it's a great team. Yeah. Real motley crew. You saw like a team photo of us, you think, who put those people together?
I like that. That's good. What were you doing before you did the Right Tuition Company?
Oh, I was leading a short and undistinguished career in the City of London. That was actually in the interim, I was teaching in a London primary school for 3 years. That's where I got my teacher training. Yeah. I just sort of walked out of university into the city, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I'm a great believer in, despite having many sort of rather horrific experiences, no experience is a wasted experience. No. And it sort of points you in the right direction. So, I learned a lot from that period. Yeah. But I sort of found my feet when I started doing teaching.
And did you always want to be a teacher? If we go way back, is that a surprise that you might have wanted to be a teacher? I wanted to be a teacher when I was little.
No, I think it's fantastic. For me, teaching and farming are the most noble professions. Yeah. But I say it because if you said to my parents, or mostly to my teachers at school, that I was doing what I'm doing now, they would fall off their seat and be horrified. Yeah. It was a case of poacher turned gamekeeper. I was.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, I know we've spoken about that before. But I think that's great, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And I've always really valued teaching, but I was probably didn't have myself down as going into education. But I never really thought about what I wanted to do. And I think there's a great need at the moment to help children bridge that gap between the world of academe and then the commercial world. Definitely. And these days, you can start up a business doing anything. And I think it's very fulfilling, as you know, to have your own company.
Yeah, because it didn't really feel like that back. If we're going back without giving away too many years, when we go back to that time, you'd sort of go and be told what careers you could have. You were career advisor. Yep. You'd be told what careers you you could have, and then what education you needed, and then what university degree you needed, and then that was that. And it was kind of, and I think that's why I personally didn't get a degree, because I don't like being told what to do at the best of times. But for me, there actually wasn't anything. I remember I wanted to be a teacher because I loved English and I loved communication, but actually there wasn't anything that really satisfied my need at that time. So I just kind of went out and got a job and had a jolly old time, and that was that. So it was very different.
Well, I think so. I think, I certainly agree. I had a very narrow idea of what I could potentially be. But I think it's helpful to have some academic qualifications, but you can't put a price on going and getting proper experience. So
Absolutely.
I've been a tree surgeon. I've been worked in a pub. I have been in recruitment. I've done sort of sold houses very poorly.
What, you sold houses poorly, or you sold houses poorly? Or a bit of both.
But from all those, it sort of gives you a feel for what you enjoy. And the wonderful thing about teaching is that it's a people thing.
Yes.
And it's about communication.
Yes.
And I love working with children. They're incredibly funny, and it's so fulfilling when you get to get a child to change their attitude in learning. You get them understanding concepts. You get them to be an independent thinker, an independent learner. And I love engaging with parents. So our model of education is lovely because you get to really engage with parents on a regular basis, because you all share the same ambition, which is for the child to learn and improve. So it's really fulfilling in terms of the interaction side of things. And that sort of plays to my strengths. I think, although I run a business, I don't get excited by looking at a spreadsheet or a balance sheet. I leave that to
someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone else in the motley crew.
Exactly. A nice Scottish gentleman called Jonathan.
Did you find, like, obviously I'm getting an idea that maybe you had a colourful growing up experience, and then as you got older, sort of, you say about getting on with children, you do get on really well with children. I've seen the way you work. You've worked with both my children. You're still working with my daughter, and you are great at getting out the best in kids. You're brilliant, and parents, you are great.
Well, that's very kind of you.
You are. Listen, I mean, you are, because I think that, and I say that to a lot of teachers, and I'm very open with my gratitude to people when they are great. I have no problem telling people when they're doing a great job. But that's kind of a superpower, because I think a lot of us have learned over the past few months that schooling isn't very easy. Getting kids to do what you want. It was pretty bad before we had to teach them, but now we've had to teach them. I mean, I'm not great at that. My daughter's pretty fiery,
but hold on,
getting the best out of them.
That's the thing. I think there's been an unreal situation, because what you've done is you've been running a business, you've been a parent, and then you're suddenly a teacher as well.
Yeah.
So those are three monumental things that you're suddenly chucking all together. And there's a reason why we teach lots of teachers' children and head teachers' children. It's because you can't just take off that parent hat and put on a teacher hat. It's incredibly hard.
See, you're doing it now. You're doing that thing he's doing it where he's great with a parent. What I wanted to see was when did you discover that you were good at that? You've got children, but small.
Yes, I have.
Not that big. A bit bigger than that.
Yeah, she is small. She's almost as tall as me. No, she's 3.5. Yeah. And the first time I really knew I loved teaching was actually when I left school, and I took a year out, went travelling around the world, and one of the things I did, I went and was a teacher for 6 months in the middle of a tea plantation in Kenya.
Were you?
Yeah, in a secondary school where there were classes of 50 children, and I'd done lots of jobs in the holidays growing up, right from the age of 13 and above, but nothing had galvanised me in the way that teaching did. And I'm a big fan of the English language. I enjoy sort of trying to be articulate and colourful with one's language, not in a profanity sort of way. But it was just unreal like nothing else. And I don't know, maybe there's a meeting of minds. I always think it's important to stay in touch with your inner idiot, or what some people might call your inner child. I like that. So I ended up getting on with children quite well. I think there's a meeting of minds there. But I always talk to children like they're adults. I find that helps. I'm not one for putting on a silly
I was
voice.
really good at doing that till I had my children. Then it started to become a problem. I used to always be the one that was always asked to be a godparent or asked to be a great aunt and uncle, because I would do that.
Yeah.
Not so good now I've got my own. Now I've definitely got that voice that tells them what to do.
It's important to have, I think, that voice when they know you're serious.
Yeah, they still don't know I'm serious, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're getting at. So that's amazing. So you literally taught in a team. So that that must have given you a great sense of just on a different level.
Well, it was wonderful because education in Africa is their one opportunity. Is either you squander your education and you end up probably working on the tea plantation, or you really grab the bull by the horns and you progress on and potentially could then go to university, and then you're off and away trying to get some qualifications and within a particular profession. So you see how much education matters, and you see how excited they are to learn. And they really sort of take challenges head on and just have this relentless positivity about life. So maybe it was a bizarre experience of teaching, and it isn't anything like teaching in England, but it gave me a flavour and an understanding that you've got to get up in the morning and be entertained by what you do.
Absolutely.
Because for 4 years when I was working in the city, I got up and I was filled with overwhelming dread. I was sort of sweating like anything on the tube, thinking, I really don't know what I'm doing.
I know.
And that's no way to live life.
It's that kind of Sunday, when you were younger and it's Sunday and the weekend was over and you were going back to school. It's that feeling. If you have that feeling about work,
I can honestly say,
not good.
I cannot remember the last time I had that feeling.
No,
Obviously,
me neither.
It's Monday today, and the days don't really matter at all. Obviously, I love the weekend because it's family time. It's fantastic. But I love what we do, and we're so fortunate to have built an amazing team.
Yeah, we've got a great team.
Staff who just genuinely care. And I think what's really important about what we do is customer service, but it's got to be underpinned by a genuine feeling of care and concern and wanting to go the extra mile and do the small things. Ultimately, we're providing a service, and we want to give parents and children that rounded education service that they deserve. I think it's something that we do quite well.
You do really well. So when you decided this was something that you had a passion about, did you come back then and work somewhere else still, or was it?
Well, no, when I left the city. I say left the city. The city wasn't sort of saying, no, don't leave, come back.
You missed that train journey, didn't you? That's what it was.
No, but going and working in a school, I'm a great believer. I think we have some of the greatest teachers in the world, and I think often it's our sense of humour and our way with language that enables us to engage children.
Definitely.
But sometimes I felt that as a teacher in a school, I felt a bit shackled in terms of how much creative input or your personal stamp you could put on a class. So, I knew I loved education, but I felt that I couldn't really express myself as a teacher there. And that's why moving to a slightly different model of education, I went and worked at a tuition centre in Rochester thereafter. And that really gave me a flavour for what education could be.
Yeah.
We were told at school to keep parents at arm's length because it might breed, problems.
Yeah.
But that's the exact we have the exact opposite approach.
Yeah.
So I think it was really getting that sort of flavour of a different model of education and what tutoring could be in that small group environment. And one of the great things is that it makes it more affordable.
Yeah. So
our mission is to expand the benefits of tutoring to an ever-widening demographic.
Great.
So that more and more people get access to this. Because I'm 36. When I was growing, I was only really what I could term the anxious affluent who got access to tutoring.
Totally. I think there's still a little bit of a stigma with that, where it's it's like we've had conversations about this, where actually it's not like that. It's not. Everyone can have it as a real benefit to their children's education. It doesn't. Yeah.
Well, it's so hard for school teachers because you've got massive class sizes of 32. Yeah. So it's very easy for a child to suddenly maybe coast or not be incentivized to maximize their potential. And that's through no fault of the teachers at all. It's just the product of having a massive class size. And I think every child learns in a different way. They've all got their areas of relative strength and weakness. And our model allows for a more forensic approach where you can get to know the individual, what they're good at, what they need to work on, and then really sort of target those areas so they can go back into school with renewed confidence and more skills and knowledge.
So before you set up what you're doing, I mean, did you? Because it's just interesting, isn't it, to think now that you're really accomplished, doing really well with it, really helping lots of children and their families, and yet you sort of came from an area where you're sitting on the train thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? I mean, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that you would be running a business that was really facilitating and helping so many people? It's amazing when you think of it like that. I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's a great sort of little lesson to myself that and maybe others, that you never know where things are going to take you.
No.
I never envisaged having my own business, which would be where we're at right now. But I feel, you don't foresee things, and that's why I think it's just important to give things a go. No experience is a wasted experience. There's things about hurling your hat in the ring and sort of and running with it, really. And
is that what you did? Did you hurl your hat in the ring when you were getting ready to start your business? What was because today there's been a sort of underlining quality that's been coming through the chats that we've had about what was that thing that really got you to go, right, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to go and do this. Not a thought, actually I'm going to go and do this. What was that?
To be frank, I thought I had little to lose. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have a wife or a girlfriend or what have you, and I think that sort of helped. If I had some of those things, I think I would have been a lot more guarded about having a go, and probably might have played it safe. So sometimes a position of vulnerability can really be the first stepping stone towards a life that you maybe, or a career that you didn't envisage. I think I've really had little to lose. Really.
That is, and that I can relate to that actually, because when I started my PR agency, it was literally because I was earning so little, and all the money I was, no offense to those that were paying me that are watching this now, thank you very much, I love my job, but they were paying me, but all my money, the reason I was earning so little was all going on childcare. I just had my son was 2, my daughter was 6 months, everything was going on childcare, and I was literally getting paid, and then I was coming in, and then I was like, what is this life? This is no life for me. And actually that was when I did, because I just thought,
so how old was Reuben when you...
Reuben was 2 and Elodie was... Reuben was 2 and a bit and Elodie was 6 months.
That's amazing.
And literally I was just like, well, do I keep going to work 3 days a week, never seeing my children? I had a nice car, thanks very much. I had a nice car. Have a nice car and literally just spend all my money on childcare. Teddies were getting all my money at the time. And every time I dropped my kids off, they were like screaming, looking at me like, you evil woman. So I just had that all day. So it was just not enriching me.
No.
And that was when I started to talk to people about, well, what if I start... Because I was kind of telling people what to do anyway in my job. And I just sort of talked to my employees and it worked out great. But it's interesting you say that, because I had not much to lose, or I didn't think I did.
Well, I think it's actually quite interesting, because I know that there was a big surge in people establishing their own businesses after 2008 when we had the financial crash.
That's interesting.
And obviously we're coming through something where it's really worrying what might be in the future, all that uncertainty. But within that uncertainty, maybe it's very similar, that position of vulnerability that incentivizes people who've had the misfortune of either losing a job or are worried about losing a job, just to bite the bullet and start up a business and be in charge of their own destiny a bit more. And I always think the pros outweigh the cons. Of course, it comes with some worries, but I would foresee and always implore people who are thinking about it to give it a go. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you imagine not giving it a go? I mean, I can't even imagine that now. I think the only thing is you do become unemployable.
I was, yeah.
I mean, if we weren't already before, it's just, you know, because that is, once you are the master of your own destiny and you do have that freedom to work as we do, and it does come with a lot of stress, then there is that element of...
But it's responsibility. I love being responsible for hopefully people, you know, earning a good living, you know, doing something worthwhile, which I think has a place in the local community. I think that is... really fulfilling. And I think once you find something that has meaning to both you and hopefully in a broader sense on a societal level, you know, once you've found it, it's all about running with it.
And what have you found has been the most challenging thing about running your own business? Because you've had a lot of growth in, you know, in similar period to myself. Your business has grown and grown, and you're still growing. So what have you found has been the most challenging thing?
I would say the most challenging thing has probably been... what has the most challenging thing been? I'm trying to think what it's been. I'd say sort of managing, because in my inherent nature is I'm a people pleaser, and I want everyone to try and it's an idiotic attitude to have. You're never going to please everybody, and I do still find myself going home. And in particular, with you want your staff to feel happy, and you get to know your staff so well. You feel if you're, you know, if you haven't helped them in, you know, the perfect possible way. I find that quite challenging, and sort of taking a step back and not chasing perfection, just more focusing on progress. I don't think I'm very good at that, and. You know, I think I've got a lot of improvement to make on sort of a managerial kind of level. I don't think it comes naturally to me.
Me neither.
I know.
Me neither.
I'm not. If you picked up a textbook of management, you wouldn't find anything that I do in there.
But do you think that with that as well, it's difficult because when you do run your own business and you do have small teams that are then growing to large teams, management comes into it because you are a small company that's grown to a medium-sized company. And it is a skill that not everyone's good at. No. I've started to get very good at saying to my team, I'm not a very good manager because I'm really not. And I think they'd all agree with me. And I don't beat them with sticks or anything, but it's just... I'm just not, you know, I've worked with some amazing managers that just have a way of doing it. And I mean, you can work with children, so that's impressive. But I find that very challenging in my business. And it's interesting you're saying that too.
No, I would definitely say I find very rarely do I ever have sort of interaction problems, or even my staff have interaction problems with the pupils. You know, you want to gauge expectation of parents and, you know, talk frankly to them. But I think, you know what, if you get things wrong, if you're a bit humble, I think people really respond to that.
Absolutely.
I think it's okay. I think what I've learned in business is very important to be aware of what you're not so good at.
Definitely.
So you've got a team around you for a reason. They can come and help you out with that. So being aware of, you know, certain shortcomings one might have, but also just being yourself. I think often you think you have this idea of what a business person is or what a manager is. And I'm very glad I don't subscribe to that because it would come across in a very false way. I like people, and I think if you start with that as a, you know, starting point and are polite and considerate towards others, then invariably it gets returned, and you command respect through that, and also leading by example, and holding your hands up when you get it wrong.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's it, being humble and being able to say, oh, I'm not you know, I mean, I think I did say to someone the other day, I was like, I'm only human. I'm only a human being, you know. I'm not, because it is difficult, and it's all perception. We all see through different filters as well, don't we?
Don't we?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we definitely do. So we all assume everyone sees us the same as we see us, and it's not the same. It's not just men and women that are different. We're all different. And when you figure that out, it's quite liberating actually, because you're like, oh, they're not being pokey with me just because I've done something wrong. That's just their day. It's just so I think you just have to be open to that and open yourself.
So I think it's really important to always put yourself in. This is what my mother always said from a young age: put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Definitely.
I'm not sure.
It's not an easy thing to do, though.
It's not an easy thing to do, but I think it's a really good starting point. You start with a bit of empathy, and it's easier to arrive at a, that middle point. I often feel at the moment in the world, you've got polar opposites. You've either got here, you've got here.
Yeah.
This grey expanse in the middle is largely vacated.
Yeah.
But if you can sort of start from a bit of empathy, you can meet in the middle a bit more.
Do you think what's happened to us over the last year has possibly helped us sort of, strengthen those? I mean, look, there's some people that have benefited greatly and there's others that haven't, and there's a little bit of a rub there. And there's some people that have really sadly got very ill, and there's other people that haven't. So there is definitely polars.
Yeah.
But equally, it does feel like I get glimmers of it feeling like community is coming back. And it feels like people are really appreciating each other a bit more and getting ready. And do you feel like that as well? And
I definitely feel that it's palpable when you understand or can see what's happened, be it on a health level or on a business level. One should start off by saying one's so grateful to have a business right now.
Absolutely.
I can only imagine what it's like having slaved away to start something up from nothing, to suddenly have it completely pulled away through no fault of your own, and for all that to go to waste, to have to let staff go, to suddenly think, where is my income going to come from? I consider I'm lucky that I'm not in that boat as of today. And I do think that hopefully people, when they see that, and they do put themselves in other people's shoes, and they do see the reality of what's gone on over the last year, probably does give you a different perspective, doesn't it? It's just like if you travel abroad to different cultures.
Totally.
Or you get out there and you meet new people. It only sort of broadens your mind. And I think you become hopefully a wiser individual for it. So yeah, I definitely think the sense of community is coming back, and the importance of community.
Yeah, definitely. And you do a lot for the community. You've done, we've worked together on some things, but also you do, because charities have been hit really badly. They have been hit quite badly. Yeah, we do a lot of work with, there's a great charity locally called AIM, which provides, and we provide all the teachers, course structure, learning materials, consultancy for that. And they're brilliant. They're headed up by a lovely lady called Zoe Catania, and now they've doubled their outreach, so they've got 2 classes of 10 pupils now getting free education. Oh, that's amazing.
And the children that fall just above the pupil premium bracket, so often that gets a bit lost. And also we've got our own pupil premium initiative at our Tunbridge Centre, where we started, we offer 25% of each class to receive the education for free.
Wow.
Those children from pupil premium backgrounds. And we don't touch the school's pupil premium budget. We fund that ourselves. And that has been wildly successful and has extended beyond primary to secondary pupils as well. So I think it's really important to do stuff like that. And yeah, we've worked on the soapbox and other things like that. And anything that sort of brings people together. You enjoy that, don't you? Well, it's the fun part of business, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I'm not one for sitting in a dark room with a balance sheet there. It's fun getting out and doing stuff like this. Keep going back to the balance sheet on this. I'm learning a lot about you today after this balance sheet. It's haunting me, It's keeping you awake at night. I think the thing is, when you do start to have those inroads into community, as you do, and when you're meeting all the different parents and all the different children, all the different schools, and it's a big scale. You become connected to lots and lots of people, which is great because the power of what you can do with that connection. I think that's the amazing thing, is then when you can help people as well, it's like that's when it feels really good for me. I mean, we reach all sorts. So that I love the fact that the parents of our pupils, they come from all over the globe. Yeah. There are also all sorts of different professions, ranging from nurses to cleaners to supermarket employees to big financiers. We're a very broad church, and that for me is a realistic impression of life. I don't think there's that many professions where you get to see the rich tapestry and the diversity of our society, and we certainly do that on a daily basis. And we're all human beings. We all got our quirks, but we're also all individuals. And yeah, it's really nice to deal with a diverse range of people. No, it's really entertaining.
What have you learned about yourself and your business in the last year? I mean, I know that you've adapted. You were very. I mean, we've had a chat about this on the podcast that we did together. Yeah. You adapted very, very quickly, and your Zoom classes were brilliant. I mean, it really did help me out a lot. Thank you personally, because that was not me. I didn't do the Zoom class. I probably should do the Zoom class, but certainly for Ruben, it was great to have that inroads. But how did you find that? Are you going to keep doing online?
We have maintained. We're all, but at Tunbridge and Tunbridge Wells, we're back to face-to-face learning. However, we've kept an online Zoom presence for a range of GCSE and primary classes. Yeah. Because, that's one of the good things to come. It does work. And for some people, that's still something they really want to focus on rather than face-to-face learning. Yeah. But there's so many things you could transfer from small group learning in person. Like on Zoom, you can get pupils' questions get answered immediately. It's very interactive. They love the technology. And it can work. But we had to literally change overnight. And I said it's sod's law that I sort of went to great lengths to start a non-computer based approach to learning. But look, I mean, it just shows, doesn't it?
I
learned how to copy and paste, no joke, when I left university. I had never messed around with a computer. I was outside causing mischief as a youngster. I was never on a computer. And I went to a really good school and all that, but I never did sort of... I used it to type up my essays, and that was it.
But technology is like, some of us are better with it. My team would definitely vouch for me being someone that's not good with technology.
I would have you down as someone who's quite good with technology.
No, I've just got a really good team. A really good team. And it's that thing again, isn't it? Knowing what you don't know, like knowing what you don't know and what you do know. But even, I mean, I regularly, Tanya and Suzanne in the office will be like, they just come and stand near me and I can't make things work. But your company as a business, you adapted really well and really quickly.
I think it was really important to be versatile. And to act quickly. It was a substantial change to how we operated, because it's not just that it's sort of getting learning materials to pupils. Some pupils didn't have printers, so you might have to go and deliver learning materials to houses. Some houses would be in our parents, single parent with 4 children, doesn't have a quiet space to learn. So you have to think creatively about how you could make that work for them. And ultimately, we're really proud of the fact that there was no break in children's learning. We never missed a single class. We maintained the dynamic service we offer in terms of feedback and marking of work and assessment. And our teachers did brilliantly because, it's not you've got to get your head around the technology and work out how to apply your skills through that medium. And they were fantastic, brilliant.
And do you think it's something that you'll has it brought up ideas for other things that you can do coming out of this?
I still am adamant. I'll continue an online presence via Zoom. However, we are a people business where we do love the face-to-face interaction. So, we're really pleased to be back in the classroom, and that's fantastic. And the children love seeing their friends again, and that's great. But I think undoubtedly we will come out of this in a very different place. And
I think so.
I think I've certainly done a lot more of, be it podcasts or whatever.
I was going to say to you, definitely, I think now people know you as the person behind the company. I think that people know you very well now, and they've got to understand a bit more about you and what you're about and everything to do with the company, rather than just the company, which I really like. And I think it has brought about more advertising mediums of what we do as a whole through the power of podcast and speech. And you like doing that, don't you?
Yeah, I really do.
You like talking to people?
I really like talking to people, but like yourself, I think it's important to get to know the individual behind the company, and not just listen to hearsay. And I think it's important to have a presence. I think part of leadership is to be out there, putting your head above the parapet.
Definitely.
I have worked with people before who might sort of don't put their head above the parapet and then sort of think that everything's great. But I think, you know what, I want people, I never mind if people make mistakes because it shows you're having a go.
Of course it does.
I'd far rather somebody makes the odd mistake here and there from having a go rather than someone just plays it safe and does nothing. I think it says a lot more about the substance of that individual as well.
It definitely does. And also your organisation is what it's what you represent, isn't it? No, but do you know what I mean? It's like, I think it's just real. It's just people are real at the end of the day. And also I'm always really interested to understand the person behind a business, like you've just said there. Yeah. And I think you're a very charismatic character, and it also makes sense why you get on the way you do with your team, with the kids. They all love it. I mean, they do. And the parents you are very good with. So
I think I really enjoy it, but I think you've got to play to your strengths.
Yeah.
And I've learned that if you're interested in something, or or people, or whatever that might be, that is the ultimate starting point for hopefully having a productive and successful product or business. So I think you've got to play to your strengths. I'm a deeply flawed human being. All right, I have many faults.
I don't know about deeply, but give yourself a little bit of a break there.
But I think I just feel very lucky to get up in the morning and just really enjoy work and have wonderful people to work with, and no 2 days the same.
Yeah, that's great.
You never know who's going to be knocking on the door of the centre or who's going to be telephoning. Every child's different, and it always keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely. And what can we expect to see more of from you as an organisation? What would you like to do more of, and what can we expect to see more of?
Well, what I'd really like to do is give more teachers the opportunity to do what I've done and set up their own tuition business. It's a very sad statistic that a lot of teachers become disillusioned, and 75% of teachers actually leave the profession inside the first 5 years. So I really want there to be changes made in mainstream education which incentivise and encourage teachers to stay in the profession. You come out of this, you think, well, who are you valuing? Nurses. What do they deserve to be paid? Or a teacher, what do they deserve to be paid? Definitely. Or how are you going to remunerate them in different, or value them in different ways? But our model of education, I'd love to get more teachers maybe spreading their influence through setting up a centre, and we've got exclusive learning materials and a programme of action which is unique. And I'd potentially like to franchise that. And I've written a few documents about sort of how to go about sort of setting up a
It's almost like company. Mentoring a bit, in a way.
Well, I think that's the next big thing in education.
Yeah, I do too.
I think sort of companies as well, touching base with schools and helping them, give them career advice. Someone to talk to, someone to sound ideas off, give them some work experience. I think there is a bridge to be provided between there, and I think sort of there's corporate and social responsibility about helping people just be enlightened towards what you could
definitely
do.
Even my experience recently of coaching, I've started coaching, and it's phenomenal when you see you can get the best out of someone by just showing them what their best is.
Well, you're providing an objective viewpoint.
Yeah, you're not giving. You're not feeding them. You're teaching them to feed themselves. It's a very interesting way of.
Great.
But when people see their own potential, it's unbelievable. Like the power. Then it's like.
You said you wanted to be a teacher. I would argue that sort of teachers, a good teacher doesn't sort of just spoon feed.
Yes, absolutely.
They lead someone up the path, and then the person can hopefully decipher things for themselves, or have a bit more clarity about what it is, and you just give them a little nudge. And I suppose that's, you said you wanted to be a teacher. I think you could interchange coach with
It's just many hats I wear, as you know, Arthur. Many hats.
You do love a hat.
I know, it's all in the name. But also, it's like you're saying there with actually talking to teachers as well. It's like that mentoring. It is bringing out showing them possibilities, because that's incredibly sad if someone spends all their life wanting to be a teacher or getting into that career and then thinks, I can't do it. I've got friends that are doctors that have been doctors and they literally just got burnt out and couldn't do it because of the system that was in place. And then there is now more opportunity for people to still go off and not say goodbye to all of that and take the best bits and go and do something else with it. And that's really what you've done, I would say.
I think it's really interesting what you say there, because I think actually coming out of what we've been through in the last year or so, I think people will have reevaluate how they have their work-life balance. And you mentioned the doctors who are burnt out. I know that teachers get holidays, but there's a reason why they get those holidays, because when they're doing term time, you really don't get, you're always most nights up to 11 o'clock. And, how do you want to live? Do you want to live to work or work to live?
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think there's a better balance to be struck, where you can place more importance on other things in life, and one's profession or business or whatever can be a stepping stone towards or a means for a different sort of life to lead.
I think so as well. And do you think that there'll be more dare I say it, do you think there'll be some people wanting to homeschool their children now? Because I feel like as a country, we don't really do... I could be quite naive about this, to be fair. I'm probably not well-versed enough to sort of comment on it fully, but it doesn't seem to me like we are as a nation, one that does lots and lots of homeschooling. But do you think now that there's going to be a rise in that and people... Because I know some people really do want to just homeschool their children now. Not me, but everyone else. I'm really happy for my children to go back. So are they.
I think that you'll probably fall into, actually... I talked about this grey expanse in the middle.
Yeah, I'm in the grey.
I think they're actually sort of probably, thinking absolutely not. But I think already before, it was a burgeoning sector.
There was
more and more people turning to homeschooling. It's quite intimidating, because once you do get taken out of school, you're completely off grid, and it's. I think it takes a particular human being to take that on, and all credit to them. And I think there will be different schools of thought about whether you want to take your child out of the social aspect of school.
Absolutely, there's a lot to consider.
But I've seen
than
it
just
operate on a very successful level, with a number of pupils who've also come to our centre, and it's worked really well. I don't think it's for everyone. I don't think it's for the majority, but quite possibly it maybe gave people an idea of what it could be.
Well, it's that work-life balance again, isn't it? And even though I don't think that homeschooling is for me, doesn't mean it's not for some other people. So exactly. I think it's all relative to how we feel, isn't it?
I think it'll be more. Hopefully, it'll be more accepted. I think maybe
and supported. You would hope.
People might think that's a bit rogue. Being a homeschooler, but actually, I think it maybe normalised it a bit more, which is a good thing.
Well, I think normalising it. Funnily enough, we did a chat recently with Hugh Whittaker, did all this work in here, and it was like we were talking about that whole kind of, where graffiti art was not really, it was like still a bit like, oh, you're doing that, and tattoos, and it does feel like we're having this bit of a normalisation. Do you have tattoos? I have a few. I have a few. But we have that sort of normalisation of, what's accepted and what isn't. We're just, I like that. I like the fact that we're getting back to that again a bit more.
Oh, I definitely think.
People don't look down I don't have to show you a picture of my dog on my phone. I'll just show you on my wrist if I need to. It's just a time-saving device.
Brilliant.
but it is that thing where people always used to say to me, well, you've got tattoos, because they didn't think I had tattoos.
Everyone's got a tattoo these days, don't they?
Right.
I feel rather left out.
I felt quite special.
I tell you what, I'm going to go get a tattoo when we leave.
Maybe not just as you leave.
Fit in.
But isn't that funny now that now you have to have a tattoo to fit in, whereas before, if you had tattoos, you were the one that didn't fit in.
And also, I think it's very normal. I've noticed it's now normal to have a tattoo on your neck as well. Before, if I was growing up when I was a child, it's like, what is going on there?
That's what I mean.
But actually, it's perfectly normal.
No tattoos on your face, though, please. I've got a few friends that got tattoos in their face. It's all good, but I don't know if that's a look you could carry off, Arthur. Maybe you could, but...
Well, I think
if you're going to
it'll be a marked improvement.
If you're going to impulse walk out of here today with anything, please don't go and get a tattoo done. I don't think your wife or child would talk to me again. But it's nice that there is a more acceptable around homeschooling, around all these, education, around different professions. I think we're starting a business. Could we possibly have what the Roaring Twenties had? That surge.
Yeah, I know. People say it does go in 40-year cycles.
Yes.
The Roaring Twenties,
Wouldn't
the 60s.
That be fabulous?
I think it's, you touched on the word acceptance. And I think that's really such an important word for me. I never thought about the meaning of the word acceptance, but I certainly, when I was young, I always sort of, I sort of would always put my opinion across quite forthrightly. I got called Sir Rants-a-lot at university by my course mates. I think it was a feather in my cap at the time, but actually I realised it was deeply derogatory. But actually, being accepting of others, and I'm a great believer in just keep your side of the street clean now.
Yeah.
I can't have control over what other people do.
No.
And it is not my right to sort of impose my opinion.
Absolutely.
All you can try and do is keep your side of the street clean, make the most of things, and accept things for how they are.
I think that is key. I think it's literally you are only in control of your own actions, but you do have control over them and your thoughts and the words that come out of your mouth. And we can do our best to educate those around us and our children and all the rest of it. But ultimately, you can only do what you can do.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
What would you say to anyone out there that wants to set up a business, regardless of what sort of business you own? What would be any advice that you could give them?
My advice, for what it's
lose
worth,
everything and then you will have nothing to lose.
That helped me, but I don't think it's the right way to go about things necessarily. But whatever you try and do, I think putting your all, it's very trite, but the more you put in, the more you get out. And whatever you turn your hand to, I think it's about really giving things a proper whirl and not saying no to opportunities. Just in the last week, I've had a couple of meetings with people that, I'll be frank, I didn't really want to have. I thought, what was the point of me doing this?
Thanks, Arthur. It's time to go.
No, not you, Nicole.
But it's been good. Opening doors that you wouldn't necessarily.
And it was, and I'm kicking myself having that point of view because I got so much out of that.
That's brilliant.
And it was wonderful to just. Well, I couldn't envisage how it might have a purpose, but it was a great meeting. It presented lots of opportunities. And I think it's about giving your all and not saying no to things and just being open-minded about it. It's really, really important. But in terms of starting up a business, I would say that you have to also be prepared for a period of real hard graft. It doesn't come. I don't believe in the something for nothing culture.
No.
There's
no such thing as a free lunch.
No.
I said that very thing to my mum the other day. She asked me if she should buy an iPad and it was slightly less expensive. I said, Mum, all I can say is there's no such thing as a free lunch. But it's hard, isn't it? It comes with hard work.
It does. But
it's rewarding.
It does. It's really competitive out there. And you know what? Things might not go swimmingly. And I think you learn a lot more about yourself or your business when the chips are down and how you respond to that, as opposed to when things are going great and everyone's sort of high-fiving each other. Everyone goes through ups and downs. You look at any one of these mega affluent business people, most of them have been insolvent at one stage.
And that is a very interesting fact that actually for people, I know there was a time when you could look at something and think, oh my God, that person's had a lot of businesses and they've had a lot and they've actually, some of them have failed, so they can't be very good. But actually, what I've realised over the past decade is actually that's testament to how much they've tried, because it only takes one thing to really be the thing that you love, to be a success.
Completely.
All those other things, like you say, are just experience. And I totally agree. There's no such thing as bad experience. There's only experience.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
And the weird way that the world is, the thing that works probably is going to be the thing you didn't envisage being, you know, the idea.
Totally.
But I think they did a very interesting study about how Japanese and Canadian children respond to failure. You know, I don't know whether this is symptomatic of all the Western world, East versus West, but Japanese children just motivated by, they might fail at first and they get excited, they get more galvanized, they get invigorated by actually getting it right and return again with vigor and determination. And sometimes I think sort of, you know, and then the Canadian children often sort of got quite dejected. But I think that was really, you know, sort of, it's you should never fear failing. Yeah. I went through a lot of life actually fearing the idea of failure. Yeah. And it's a short term. It works in short term, but it can have catastrophic consequences. But, you know.
Will you remain stuck?
Yeah.
I mean, it's relevant for a lot of things, not just business. No. But if you're scared of failure, you're guaranteed, you know, if you believe that you're only going to ever get this and you don't stretch for that, guess what? You'll only ever get this.
Yeah. But that's why you can't be an island. You've got to have people around you. You know.
I feel like we need to write a little book of these little sayings, Arthur.
Let's get cracking.
We could go for a long time.
I know.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so nice really to chat to you. Yeah, and I look forward to more chats. Yeah. There's a lot more chatting you yet, Arthur.
Always.
So if people want to find out more about the Right Tuition Company, tell them where to go.
Yeah, if you want some extra help with your child's education, be it extra support or maximising their potential, or you might be thinking about GCSEs, which a lot of children, I think, you know, there aren't GCSEs now, but actually you're still going to be assessed in May and June time. So we have revision courses and, you know, broader help with children's education. You can get in touch with us at in the centre of town in Tunbridge Wells, 83A Mount Pleasant Road, opposite the War Memorial.
Next to Starbucks.
Yeah, they're closed. We're not.
Bring him a cake.
Yeah. And also our Tunbridge Centre, where we operate out of Tunbridge Grammar School. But you can go on the website, the Right Tuition Company, and drop us an email as an easy inquiry form, and we will get back to you immediately.
You're very good, actually. You do that.
Well, it's a service, you know. I think it's really important to distinguish yourselves from the rest, and you do that through the small bits of service and being efficient.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you, Arthur.
No, thank you very much.
Good to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.